assistance feature that offers hands-free driving with automatic lane changing on compatible roads. For those who demand even more. With customizable drive modes, Hummer EV puts a whole new level of off-road mastery at your fingertips, unlike anything out there. Hummer EV delivers an unprecedented combination of innovation and luxury. The industry-leading infinity roof, transparent sky panels, and rear drop glass give the Hummer EV an immersive open-air design so you can experience the world like never before, or even the universe for that matter. The first and only one of its kind, Hummer EV.
Wow. I can't believe they actually did this. They actually came out with a Hummer EV. You know what? I don't even blame them. I looked at the video. I like the execution. They executed really well. They had some good execution. Let's just cut to the chase. Guys, it's not a pickup truck. They have the name Super Truck. It's an SUV with the back cut off. It resembles a pickup truck, so you can market it to pickup truck consumers. You can hardly do that. It just doesn't make sense. I talked about the Rivian, but I called it the RT. I didn't call it the R1T, but it's an old video. I wanted to make sure that I had it out. But the point is, one of the main things I was talking about was the e-tron. One thing about the e-tron is it's based on the combustion drivetrains. They take the combustion drivetrain out, put in batteries and motors, and they make it look nice, and it's all manufactured. A lot of companies, a lot of manufacturers, they highlight that there's none of those parts in the drivetrain tunnel. So there's more space in the interior, but yet they still have a hump. What's annoying about this Hummer EV is that it still has a hump. I'm just like, why do you do this? One of the main reasons why they're all Tesla copies not having as good a performance as Teslas, because they keep following this design of like a conversion of a gas car into an EV, as opposed to just making like a ground up EV, which is all Tesla has ever done. They're actually designed and built around an EV drivetrain platform. So there's no wannabe combustion look / electric now.
Come out of the closet to me in high school, what, to go right back in the motherfucker and come out remixed into some like osmosis, lesbianness, used to be gay.
It's just straight electric. It's probably still possible, but it's a lot harder to swap an LS into a Tesla than it is into an e-tron, which should not make sense, but it does. So yeah, I don't like that. I saw an article talking about how they built the ladder frames and the body on frame vehicles to be that way because of the drivetrain parts, but it's actually not because of the drivetrain parts. Body on frame vehicles are built specifically to be heavy duty off-road vehicles as well. Heavy duty vehicles and vehicles that are built strictly for roads or for track or for racing or any other application. Some vehicles are unibody versus body on frame. The reason why they have this chassis difference, track vehicles need to be sturdy on the road. I don't know why they don't talk about this. This is so weird. But in order for the car to be accurate and very responsive and very quick to respond, there cannot be any flex. There cannot be any flex in the chassis. But when it comes to towing and hauling, that's a completely different monster altogether. The reason why they have these chassis that flex a lot is because the typical design is for there to be a lot of flex so that it can take the weight, especially a Ford's frame in comparison to a Chevrolet frame. One of the things that they market is how much the frame on the Chevrolet does not flex under pressure. And that could be a bad thing. It all depends on what you need. It's better for rock crawling that you have a vehicle that doesn't flex too much, but at the same time still has a little bit of flex so it can take loads to some extent. Whereas the Ford trucks, they flex a lot, the chassis flex a lot, but the advantage is they can tow more. So you might think you want a stiffer frame to tow more because you think stiffer is stronger, but no, more flexible in a heavy duty platform is actually stronger. The reason why you don't put an Escalade or a 1500 truck on the track is because it's literally just not built for it. That's just how it's designed. They could do it another way. But Tesla's approach is dangerous. If you put too much weight in that Tesla truck, it will snap and you're gonna ruin a lot more than just your truck. You're gonna ruin the batteries, possibly the motor. A lot of things are just it's gonna be the end. It's gonna be a wrap. We're not even sure if you could like go to a shop and get it bent back or take it to a shop, have it welded. If it is it gonna be the same again? So many things to worry about there for like a truck enthusiast consumer. With that out of the way, just want to be objective here. It's not a pickup truck. Now we know it's an SUT. Yeah, regardless of how they market it and all the fancy names they give it, I love the SUT. It's a great SUT. We're looking at 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, which is pretty cool considering that it used to be 30 seconds. I'm kidding. 1,000 horsepower, 15,000 pound-feet of torque. Just judging by the size of the motors, we're looking at realistically more like 400 horsepower, 700 to 800 pound-feet of torque. The only reason why those numbers are hyped up is because of things like gear ratios and how the electronics are configured, depending on where you're measuring the torque. Some people say if they're measuring it at the wheel and it's already been geared, then you can get those numbers. At the crank or coming from the motor, not going to be anywhere near those numbers. The drivetrain has a lot to do with that. Electronic drivetrains, the torque is completely controlled. They're basically hype numbers. It has a frunk, even though it's smaller than the frunk on a Tesla. It has a frunk, so we can be happy. A Hummer with a frunk. That's dope. That's dope. Anywhere you go, that's dope. The thing on the dash, this big old tablet thing, it's very cool. We have to look at that objectively because it does look cool, it does look modern, but that's kind of the problem. It doesn't look timeless. There's less tactility because everything is just one big panel. I mean, there's a lot of tactility in like the climate controls and stuff like that, but there's no gauges. It's all just panels. So it looks lame, especially when it's off. It doesn't look as cool as the art piece of a supercar when it's just parked. It's only gonna look cool if it's in motion. It's not quite as aesthetically pleasing from that perspective, but people want to be all modern and all cool and all electronic, and I guess besides the blank boring panels, yeah, sure, the corners and edges look fantastic. Very cool looking design on the speaker. It doesn't just look like they just put the mesh on there and it's just like boring like that. So we got a Corvette roof. I don't know if that's like a sneak diss to Chrysler with the Jeep and what they're doing over there, because you know Hummers traditionally have not really done stuff like that. General Motors is being General Motors, and they're bringing back the classic Quadrastair, this time with a little twist of a crab leg. Hopefully, because it's all electronic and everything, we can see some sort of updates on that. We just have one cool thing that we can do with the Quadrastair, which is, you know, moving diagonally. Obviously, that's just all software. So hopefully we can see some updates where we get to really use that. 800 volts of charging power. I just like the fact that they're experimenting with it, which is good for vehicle evolution. It's good to see that they're innovating. Autonomous driving capability. They have some other EVs that don't even have these kind of cool features and capabilities, but keep in mind that General Motors EVs are more budget based, so you can't really complain too much. Now for my dislikes. I just don't think they're doing a good job of coming out with electric vehicles. I see a lot of frunks that are just used for storing like one particular thing, like the charging cable. I just think it's really dumb to even have a frunk, just to say you have a frunk. It might have something to do with the suspension components and the fenders. A lot of these things, they're not ground up electric vehicles. They don't have like the real electric car features. They have more like conversion electric car feature. It's just a manufacturer conversion electric. So it's better than doing the electric conversion yourself. There's a lot of people doing electric car conversions, and manufacturer electric vehicles besides Tesla look a lot like that stuff, and it's just not a good look. And so I'm like, you really can't compare these things to Tesla because Tesla's like a ground up vehicle. So I don't think it's like fair competition. To be honest, I don't think that there is any competition. I don't think they're competing against each other. Clearly Tesla is like up there. It's not like apples to apples. They never had a combustion vehicle. You can't just take a Mustang, take out the engine, put in electric stuff, and act like it's gonna be anywhere near a Tesla. I don't know why people would compare stuff to Tesla. Small frunk, it's just a telltale sign. I don't like it. It's not actually four-wheel drive. It has the tri-motor. So we see the four-wheel drive capability of it, but you have to understand it's similar to a Tesla. It doesn't have true four-wheel drive. There's only a few EVs that actually have that capability. I think it's Motown or Lowtown Motors. They have an EV, 0-60 in like 5 seconds, pulls 7,500 pounds. The other specs are so whack that it doesn't compete with Tesla or Rivian or Atlas or anybody else really. But I think it's also based off the Workhorse, which that thing was a hybrid and it was a piece of junk. They updated their designs. They're a lot better. They're still not really competing with anybody four-wheel motors. So it's still in that aspect better than a Tesla. Four-wheel independent motors. Not one motor up in the front, split on that axle. I don't like that aspect. They could have went with four-wheel motors. Does it have sail pillars? No, that's the weird thing. It doesn't have sail pillars. Well, it kind of does. So they got a little clever with it. But by the end of the day, it's still not a pickup truck. Pickup truck has to have a separate bed. Pickup truck has to have a body on frame, has to have a ladder frame. The Rivian is the only vehicle that has full four-wheel drive. One of the only vehicles. I believe there might, Bollinger B1 has full four-wheel drive as well. There's a lot of capability within these systems that people are not really talking about like that. So you're looking at me with a really in-depth video, but Rivian is one of the only other vehicles like the Bollinger B1 that really is more of a ground up build. The Rivian I really do like because it has the 4-wheel motors, and it also is a real pickup truck because the bed is removable and you have a cutaway, and that's like real pickup truck market type stuff that you're not getting with these SUTs like the Cybertruck and the Hummer EV, where it's just an SUT, you can't take it with bed, you have no other options with that bed right there, and you got these annoying sail pillars. It's not as functional as a real pickup truck with that sort of thing. They really need to stop marketing to pickup truck people. It just doesn't make any sense. If you market to SUT customers, it makes perfect sense. I don't like the fact that it's not really the most luxury, especially when you look at driver and passenger comfort and you compare that to the rear. You see how the comfort degrades. The seats get thinner and less plush. All the 60-40 splitting seats that move around and stuff, whereas the front seats don't do that. There's less like power adjusted. Also, you look at the speaker, the front speaker, it actually is much better looking than the rear speaker. I really don't like that. And for the price tag, it's not really luxury. The Escalade, they have both heated and cooled front and second row seats. The third row is not, which is still annoying. We're paying so much more money now. We gotta see something. What I feel like is that there's too much emphasis on trying to get truck buyers to go green because the planet is dying or something like that. Now check this out, right? 10-minute charge for 100-mile range. Sounds kind of convenient, right? Check this out. My LBZ, 10 minutes, just 360-mile range. I'm just saying. Yeah, okay. I'm just saying. It's not more convenient. So we have to look at that objectively, okay? That's all I'm saying. Yeah, you could say I'm killing the planet, but guess what? You're killing the planet too. That 800-volt charge, you're supposed to be getting that from clean energy, but realistically, right now, that's not happening. When you buy your Hummer EV, all you're doing, you're moving where you're pumping out the emissions at from your tailpipe to the power plant. Unless you live in the Netherlands or something, that's not coming from a green energy source. To my understanding, this is an American-made vehicle, right? And distributed, whatever. When they mine and refine the lithium, that's also using fossil fuels. The Gigafactory, they're making their own batteries, but unless we start buying into Tesla, that's what we're looking at. So it's just moving planet-killing emissions from the tailpipe of your vehicle to the plant. We have to hope that one day we can stop doing that. Until then, you're literally doing the same thing even when you're driving a Tesla. Not saying that there might not be any isolated cases where, people are actually getting energy from their backyard solar panels. We've gotten better at understanding the issues and getting around the issues of battery tech, but we're just getting better at understanding how to deal with the issues and still deliver a decent product. But the actual capacity of lithium, it has not really changed. Probably from the 1950s to the 1990s, like it's been the same for a long time. We've gotten better at making sure that they don't explode and cause fires and charging them quicker and more sustainably. Not so much in terms of actually increasing the capacity. It just has a lot of limitations, and any updates that you're seeing are really not based on the battery tech actually getting better. The battery tech has not changed between the Tesla Roadster, the 2009, 2012 Roadster, all the way to 2018, 2019, or 2020. Now they've had 2 battery updates that I know of, from the 18650 to the 2133 or something like that, and now they're looking at changing it again. All they're doing is finding a different configuration to put the batteries into the modules and into the car. This configuration is slightly more compact, but it's a slightly higher capacity, slightly higher output because of how they packaged it, how they wired it, how they cool and heat it. They're working around the battery. They're not working on the battery itself. There are certain improvements on the cells. The cells are using a different material that helps them get a little bit more capacity in there. It doesn't hold more energy, it just holds more of the stuff that holds the energy. Even with all these so-called improvements, it's only 16% more you're being able to store in the latest Tesla batteries compared to previous generation. 16%. That's like nothing. So we wait an eon to get 16 more percent. You want me to wait another eon for another 16 or 25%. And it's not even based on the actual lithium technology. It's still the same stuff. That whole solid state conversation, maybe there has been some update that I'm not aware of yet, but as far as I can tell, solid state batteries have to be solid. Any flexing in your chassis would be detrimental to the health of that cell because the cells would go bad and then you wouldn't have a battery anymore. Like I was saying about the frames, it makes certain candidates very eligible for a solid state battery, certain other candidates, no way. The Cybertruck, being that it does not move, does not flex at all, it makes it a very eligible candidate for a solid state battery. However, the Rivians and all that other stuff, no way. So here's the thing. If there's any so-called improvements, it would be on creating a vehicle that could get around that issue and then use the solid-state battery. But that would not be an improvement in the battery technology like what makes up the anode and the cathode and how much capacity those materials can actually hold. There's no particular improvement in battery technology, like the fundamental thing that holds the energy. When it comes to the range and when it comes to 10 minutes to 100 miles based on the vehicle as it is, we're trying to make an SUT that pulls something, that range is going to vary significantly based on how much you're towing. With a diesel truck, it does vary significantly as well, but you're still looking at better numbers generally. If it was just an SUT, it wouldn't be so bad. If it was an SUV, it wouldn't be so bad. The car, again, not so bad, really not a big deal. But when it comes to the truck market, that's tough. So with that, there's no word on the towing capability, bed outlets, air compressor. There's no word on tailgate tricks, you know, like Ford and Chevrolet have been going back and forth with it. And that's like pickup truck market stuff. I suppose you guys would care about it if it was a pickup truck, but it, you know, clearly it's an SUT. Couple aspects I don't particularly care about. I think the price is actually justified because you're getting certain things that Teslas don't have. You're getting crumple zones. I don't think that a lot of people are aware of what's going on with the crumple zones on the Tesla truck. I think I should take a minute to address. If you're driving in a Tesla truck and you hit someone else that's not in a Tesla truck, that their vehicle has crumple zones, they're going to protect you and themselves. If you're driving a Tesla truck and it hits into another Tesla truck, there's no crumple zones. So you're probably going to get jacked up. If you're driving in a Tesla truck and you hit a tree or something, the tree's probably not going to be okay, but you're probably going to be okay. If you hit a brick wall, you're probably going to die now. But like, it's not going to look good for you because there's no crumple zones. There's nothing to absorb that impact. It's just you and steel. Oh yeah, and an airbag. Yeah, that does not look so good. But you know, there's a lot of reasons why they wanted to go with that truck. It would be a great truck depending on who's buying it. I say truck very vaguely and loosely, sports utility truck. Yeah. I also don't particularly care about the lighting. Mustang has cool lights. They do light tricks too. I think it's a cool feature. I think that with some updates, again, like the Quadra-Steer, it can do some interesting things with the lighting. The autonomous driving capabilities, I don't think that there should be conversation about electric vehicles in particular being, at least General Motors that is. The only time they want to innovate is when they have a new segment such as electric vehicles. So that's just them, I guess. Ford's been innovating, adding different levels of autonomous driving capability in their ICE engine vehicles, as well as Toyota. Toyota is one of the first vehicles that I've actually driven that have had a lot of autonomous driving capabilities, such as lane keep assist. Now we get into the things that I hate, which I don't hate very much because I'm not a very hateful person, but nonetheless. It's all electric. It's not even a hybrid. They think the planet is going to die in like 12 years or something like that. I don't know. Go listen to Greta. It's just kind of unfair. It just means I'll have to bend the knee and do whatever you tell me to do because the world is going off a cliff. So I just love engineering. I'm going to always put that first. Engineering over. And right now, electric is just not cutting it. All electric, it's not even a hybrid. We have no other option for better range. It just leaves you kind of stuck. Again, the LBZ, you know, I could pull a lot of weight for a longer distance. General Motors did a pretty decent job for 2006. It's still a better option than getting this $100,000 Hummer EV to tow something. And another thing too, I don't really understand why you're trying to entertain a truck market if trucks come in 1,500, 2,500, and 3,500. You come in 1 motor, 2 motor, and 3 motor. What does that do? So another thing too that people don't really talk about is the non-maintenance cost. The maintenance cost is obviously cheaper after you buy the vehicle. Refueling the vehicle is obviously cheaper, but what about the non-maintenance cost? You crash or something breaks, now you have to fix it. Is that going to be more expensive? Here's the thing, they say there's less parts, but that's not necessarily true. It just depends on what you consider a part. There are thousands, if not tens of thousands, of individual wires in an electric motor itself. I don't know what you're looking at and considering a part. There's a lot of different parts within the semiconductors of all of the electronics necessary to run an electric vehicle, especially one that has multiple motors. So I don't know what you think is a part. There's a lot of parts in computer electronics and motorized devices. Could you imagine a car? The argument can be made that electric cars do not necessarily have less parts than combustion. And that doesn't even necessarily mean that it's more reliable and that it's less likely to have parts break down. But by the end of the day, the big thing is if a part does break on this $100,000 Hummer EV, is it going to be more expensive to fix than its combustion counterpart? All EVs after the Tesla are trying to be Tesla wannabes. I don't know why. Combustion manufacturers that have been around don't want to give a real effort to making their own EV. And if they do, it's gonna be something weird and lame and budget like a Bolt or Volt. The I-Pace and the e-tron, they're not really real efforts. Even the Porsche has this great 2.6 second 0 to 60. The Model S has a 2.4. So it's like it really can't have the title of being a really fast EV with a 2.6 second 0 to 60. Here comes a Hummer with a 3 second. Another thing too, 1,000 horsepower and 3 seconds 0 to 60, the enthusiast aspect of trucks aftermarket, but nonetheless, it shouldn't be surprising to you that 1,000 horsepower is moving quickly despite being unaerodynamic and very heavy. You have enough power, it's gonna go fast. 1,000 horsepower, nobody cares. We have a completely different drivetrain geared toward traction and traction management, and with a lot more precision than with a combustion setup. Yeah, the Hummer EV is a Tesla wannabe. Anything that Lil Wayne pours champagne on, people will buy like crazy. Not being pessimistic, actually being optimistic, but you want to be objective. So if you guys like the channel, like the content, go ahead and subscribe. That helps. Hit the like button, comment, tell me what you think. Check out the rest of my stuff. I just cover a lot of subjects. I just like talking about stuff. With that, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one.
Your phone can't do that, Max. Here, I have another. What?